thank you all for waiting to hear my presentation, and thanks Dan for putting this all together. So my name is Robert Fikes IV. I also go by Robbie, and today I'd like to talk to you about cheat codes, in particular what I have found to be very useful to help me create digital experiences. So I put together this quick little intro animation to showcase kind of the animations and creative coding stuff that I've done in the past. So I consider myself a creative technologist. Again, I live here in Denver, Colorado. And I've been making digital art pretty much since I was in high school. I moved to Denver about 7 years ago. And since then, I've worked on quite a few projects that I'm proud of. So I'll be sharing you some of the cheat codes that I've learned along the way. It basically all started with this video game called Star Wars Battlefront 2, which I got for the PlayStation 2 in high school. This game didn't have any cheat codes, but I pretty much made my own by hacking the game. I was able to do things like this. I could fly around the air. I could trigger different character animation states. I could even fly through walls. And this was done online so that other people were able to join and play with the hacks that I made in my server. So what I did with this is I made 4 different YouTube videos, and they all got a couple 100,000 views. I made these hacks with a program called Cheat Engine. And basically how it worked was you first scanned all the data in the game, which gives you a list of all the addresses. And then each address has its own value associated with it. So then you can do things like lose all your ammo, rescan all the data, find that change, and then change it to whatever number you like. You can even freeze it so that it'll never go down. So I'd like to talk to you about the first cheat code that I've discovered, which is play. I've learned to find what gets you excited by just having fun and playing around. I think it's very important to figure out your interests and what you like. In high school, I took an elective called Digital Arts. I really enjoyed the class so much that I ended up taking the class for all 4 years of high school. In that class, I learned how to do Photoshop, Illustrator, Dreamweaver, and even Flash. So I made a lot of, on the left-hand side, I made signatures for posts on forums that I do on video game forums, made art posters, and even done Flash websites and stick figure animations. The next cheat code I like to share is about focus. So having a strong focus on what exactly you want to do will save you a lot of time in the long run. After I graduated high school, I didn't really have a clear sense of focus. So I went to university and I thought I wanted to major in computer science, mainly for the money. But I ended up struggling in my classes because I wasn't really focused. Instead, I spent most of my time just playing Super Smash Brothers in the recreation center at school. And I was able to make a lot of friends. I put together a website forum for us so that we could all chat, and even designed a logo for us. As we got better for the game, I started to record our matches and upload them on YouTube. And that's how I got into After Effects animations. If there's no initial passion, meaning something that you're doing for fun or that you find is really interesting, it'll be very difficult to make something. I learned that the hard way, and also that you shouldn't try to do something just for the money. Instead, I learned that the money will come if you just start doing the hard work first. I wasn't very passionate about learning computer science in school and ended up dropping out of college. I spent the next 2 years figuring out what I should be doing in life. I realized that I should just go back to my roots doing what I was already good at, which was digital art, even if I meant that I wouldn't make as much money as I hoped. So I went back to community college, got my GPA up, and was offered to go to several universities. Out of all those offers, I decided to go to the University of Colorado, Denver, because it had the best looking website. At CU Denver, I studied digital design. It was a great program, and I learned to concept interfaces, make 3D animations, rebrand television packages, and even make title sequences for movies. It's always a good idea to keep challenging and pushing yourself and not take the easy way out. By doing so, I learned a lot of new skills with every project that I work on. I knew that experience was very important for getting that first full-time job out of school. So in school, I did 3 different internships, each lasting about a year. Through my internships, I worked on a lot of websites, even designed logos, made brochures, email campaigns, and even designed this car wrap. The most challenging thing I did at this time was also participating in art galleries. I signed up for art exhibitions as a way to learn new skills like projection mapping, processing, WebSockets, MIDI signals. This was a great way for me to get my name out there in the community. So I wouldn't have gotten this far if I didn't ask a lot of questions, because questions help lead you to figure out what you want. Google is a really good tool for that, and I use it for pretty much everything. Asking questions to myself was how I met Cashflow. I found him on Vimeo when trying to figure out if anyone else did creative coding in Denver. So I reached out to him, and he told me about the Denver Creative Tech Meetups that he just started running, and he invited me to participate. At the time, I was exhibiting this exhibition at the school's art gallery. And then I saw in the Meetups description that they were looking for presenters. So I asked Cashflow if I could take this gallery installation and bring it to the Meetup. And I became one of the presenters for them. At the end of my digital design program, we all had to finish a thesis. I wanted to steer away from the traditional branding and design projects and make an actual working prototype. So for my thesis, I worked with the partner to explore how to make virtual reality more inclusive so it's not just limited to one person. I made a way to connect VR headsets with iPhones and iPads. With that, we made a video game, and it turned out to be a viable solution, and then a lot of people seemed to enjoy it. Shortly after graduating, I got my first freelance project. The dean for my school asked me to make an installation for their music program. I had complete creative freedom and ended up making this interactive music app on a touchscreen television. This was on display at the Biennial of America's Music Festival. Afterwards, it was moved over to be showcased at CU Denver's newest art gallery. I found out that if you put your work out there for free, and if it's good, people will notice and reach out to you and want to work with you. A project manager who worked at the club here in Denver reached out to me after seeing my art at the school's gallery and asked if I wanted to make art installations for New Year's. I said yes and began learning how to work with LEDs. I was in charge of all the engineering and animations. And the best part was I got to VJ on stage. After freelancing for a few months, Cashflow reached out to me and introduced me to Hovercraft. And within a few weeks, I began working as a full-time employee, making interactive installations for Nike. I learned when your workload slows down, try to do something to keep yourself productive. You could do things like build your own tools, libraries, and resources so that you'll be better prepared in the future and can get work done much faster. The projects that I enjoyed the most at Hovercraft were making my own tools. I made this interactive simulation to take our mock-ups to the next level. Before, we would render a flat 2D video and send it to the client. But with this tool, people were able to get a better sense of how the final project could look like. While working full-time, I was still able to make art. I collaborated on developing a video game for the Denver Art Museum, made a cool way to see your heartbeat, did a code Vember, and was commissioned to do some projection mapping, which led me to be on the news. But then COVID happened this year and I got laid off from my job. So I spent the next 2 months making a new portfolio. I wanted to learn new skills in the process and made the site with 3GS. When I was done, I created a trailer for my portfolio and shared it on social media. After posting it on the Animation at Work Slack channel, Dan reached out to me and invited me to present this meetup. I was honored for the opportunity, and I learned Unreal Engine just to make this presentation. So the past few years have been a pretty wild roller coaster for me, and I hope my story has inspired all of you today. And with that, I leave you with my final cheat code. Thank you.
How do I get out this gallery view? Nice one, Robert. That was, yeah, really, really inspiring. Some really interesting work you've been up to.
Thanks.
Yeah. We haven't got any questions in the chat. Has anyone got anything they got up their sleeve?
I do, as usual. If that's right.
Well, I think you would, Luke.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I just want to ask. You're clearly working on your passion, on your number one hobby. I know I think sometimes I know people whose work is also their hobby. Find that quite tricky sometimes. You're separating your work time from your sort of your free time. I wonder if you have any cheat codes for that. You know, how do you not get tired of working on your hobby? How do you keep it feeling like a hobby instead of like your job? I don't know. Is that something you experience?
Kinda. I know what you mean. So how I've navigated it is, sure, what I do for like my experiments and projects that I exhibit to art galleries and whatnot is very similar to my full-time work. I always try to make extra time. So there's a third category, which is I try to focus on not any of this stuff. So I'm already like focusing 2 categories on creative technology work, but I need some extra time to focus on, just going outside, meeting with friends, going out, and it's just trying to find that balance. Also, like with these side projects, I always try to, sure, it's interesting to play around with it, but I found a way that I work best if I set myself under a deadline. And the best deadline is to submit it to art galleries, to competitions, to, collaborations, so that you're kind of forced to finish it. Otherwise you pretty much fail,
Yeah, that sounds very helpful, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no, really inspiring, and yeah, some really good tips that I know I've tried to sort of, use some of them along my career path, but there's some great additions in there.
Sure. I cannot hear anyone. Hang on. I don't know why my audio's not working.
I'm not muted. People can hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear us all right now, Robert? Check. 1 2 1 2.
No.
Can you hear us, Robert? What's happened? It's good timing for a technical glitch. Cool. Well, can you hear us, Robert?
1 second.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. This is what's turned into these like Zoom channel meetings, isn't it? Like half of it just depends. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? How about now? And now? Hey, Robert.
Hello, Robert.
Dun, 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 dun. Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know. I can't hear anyone, but I
Okay.
can read the chat messages and just respond that way if you guys have any questions.
yeah. I think I'm going to switch this to gallery view. If anyone doesn't have any more questions, does anybody have any thing they want to talk about? They got any
Well,
announcements?
question from
Oh, we got another question. Oh, shit.
Tibble. He's there you go. He's messaged to everyone now.
What is your process for learning a new tool? I guess it depends. My process really is I put myself in a situation where there's these things I hear about, like for example, Unreal Engine. That's been gaining a lot of popularity. You know, they use it in the Star Wars Mandalorian series, but I haven't learned that. And so I keep that in the back burner so that, you know, in the future when something comes down in the line, like for example, Dan asking me to give this presentation, I see an opportunity of when I can finally say like, I could probably use this tool for this situation. So yeah, that's what I made. I didn't know how to do anything in Unreal Engine until I made this presentation. It was interesting workflow overall. Still, I prefer coding. So if I use Blueprints, their system to, you know, do all the logic, but I think I should probably learn how to do C++ in their system to figure that out. But yeah, in general, it's just, I always follow a lot of resources, tools, and people using those tools, and just keeping an eye out on what's possible and what you can do with it. And so yeah, when the time comes, you could just try to learn it yourself when you need to use it.
Cool. Yeah, good tips. Yeah, I kind of do something similar. Normally when I have like a job interview and I have to do like a test or something, I'm normally like, okay, and this is my opportunity to, you know, I'm going to invest some time right now. I might as well try something a bit different and yeah, try out a new technology or a new library or something like that. Can you hear us right there, Robert?
I don't think you can.
He can't hear me.
Let's see, I see a question saying, what is your favorite tool? Let's see, before it was After Effects and Unity, but now messing around with Unreal Engine, I feel like that is a better tool to make more 3D visual environments, especially if you want things to get more realistic and you're dealing with more lighting. I don't really have favorites in general. Each tool serves its own purpose. Like, for example, I like using Photoshop a lot because, you know, it's way better than Microsoft Paint or, you know, Ableton or Adobe Audition for editing sound, Premiere for editing videos, After Effects for animation. Did a little bit of Cinema 4D for 3D, starting to learn a little bit of Blender as well. Oh, yep. Okay, see ya.
I think you missed that one. Shame that the audio's gone.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on there. Maybe we turn the volume down on one of his gadgets there. I don't know.
Let's see. I see someone asking, or Dan was asking, have I tried Notch? No, I've heard about it. I actually thought about maybe I should have used Notch instead of Unreal Engine for this presentation, which I think would have been a better workflow because I think Unreal Engine was overkill. But I've only done their prototype demos and it was kind of impressive. I haven't really had any use cases for it. So example, for those Nike installations, usually in the store for all the screens, we just use processing and we feed it to a media server. But I know that other vendors that work with Nike use Notch also as a media server, and they can create content and then stream it to all the screens in the store. So I think it's a viable tool. Just haven't used it that much.